In this video, I'm going to be recreating a vessel from scratch. I'm going to use these stained papers and fabrics that I made, and I have some coffee water that I'm going to be dipping these plaster sheets in. And I'm going to start here by using this bowl as a form, and I will just continue to add each of these items a little bit at a time until I start to create a vessel. I wanted to experiment with the coffee water to see if I could get some different colors and shades and tones with the vessel as I built it with the different items that I already showed you there. I had previously stained several different fabrics with tea and rust, including this pink striped fabric that I'm using. Again, just hoping to create a little dimension and some different colors to the vessel as it comes together. So this was actually a piece of paper that I had stained with the coffee and tea, and it didn't stick very well, so I used small pieces of the plaster wrap to tack it on there and make sure that it was secure to the vessel. I had all of the edges smoothed and the plaster moved all over. Decided to clean up just a little bit and let this sit overnight before I started the next stage. Didn't have much trouble getting it off of the form that I used, which was just a bowl I picked up at the dollar store. I did realize that the vessel wasn't as thick as I anticipated, but was able to go ahead and add the encaustic, which helped create a stronger vessel. I don't know how well the camera will pick it up, but as I fused the encaustic onto the vessel, the coffee color that I used in the plaster water, or the water that I used to dip the plaster wrap, started to show through and it changed colors. It was unexpected, but it was kind of a neat thing to have happen. So it definitely gave me an unexpected result. I had been given a huge box of these Johnson and Johnson gauze bandages that were expired and going to be thrown out. It's basically like cheesecloth. So I decided to pull some of those out. Again, feeling that the bowl was still too delicate and wanted to beef it up a little bit. So started adding some additional layers of fabric and cheesecloth and burlap to strengthen the vessel. At this point, I decided to try to add some encaustic to the inside of the bowl and see if I could again help with its delicate nature to create a stronger bond. And it definitely started to feel a lot more secure and sturdy as I continued to add each layer. When you're creating these vessels, one thing to keep in mind is that they do retain the heat. And because you're fusing from the inside and the outside, sometimes they can become too pliable and you can ruin some of the shape, or you can use that and reshape it if you'd like. But just a note of caution to make sure that you're letting it cool down. I don't show that in my videos because it'd be boring for you to sit there and watch me look at it. At this point, I wanted to add some color to this layer because I know coming up here I'm going to add some burlap, and I wanted the color to be layered down deeper into it. So I put this on now. Again, the same technique as I've shown before. I add the oil paint. I'm using vegetable oil. As I've stated, I like to use the vegetable oil. It's fairly inexpensive and easy to clean up, and it works as a good medium to blend the oil into all of those spaces. If you haven't seen this technique before, once you place the color on there, then you can take a paper towel or a rag of some sort and wipe off the excess paint. It's good to wipe some of it off of there if you are going to add more encaustic, which I was planning to do, so that it fuses and bonds well with the other layers. At this point, I decided to add some burlap. For one, I really like the look of the burlap on these vessels. And for two, I was still trying to gain some strength in the vessel. I probably should have added more plaster back at the beginning or put another layer of plaster on it, but in this case I decided not to do that and build it with the wax. Once it cures, it will be just fine, but it was delicate when I was working with it. Another option to creating these layers would be dipping the burlap in the encaustic and then applying them onto the bowl. I just didn't have the space on my griddle to do that, so I laid the burlap on there and added the encaustic. At this point, I decided to start adding some white encaustic because I knew I was leaning towards the finishing layers of the bowl. And so I decided to cover it inside and out with some white encaustic. After I fused, I just decided to secure some of the seams a little bit better. And then also it was pretty warm and I needed it to cool for just a little bit before I could continue on. I knew I wanted to add some string to the outside of this just to add another layer of dimension and interest. So I wasn't sure how much I wanted to put on there, so I tacked down the beginning and just started winding it around there until I felt like it was a good amount of string wrapped around the outside of it. Once I added the string, I went ahead and applied encaustic to it so that I could secure it. And that will just about wrap this video up for me. Part 2 is coming up and I'll show you how I finished this out. Stay tuned.